Welcome into Off the Hook Sports. I am your host, Caleb Calhoun. Happy Monday. Happy August 4th. We've got a lot to get to today. It's not all good news for Tennessee today. We're going to discuss a tight end flipping to the North Carolina Tar Heels from Tennessee, an in-state tight end, a long-time commitment. Probably not something they wanted to see happen. We'll just say that. On top of that, Nico Iamaleava has addressed Tennessee fans in a recent interview. That'll be what they each want to discuss that and what he said. Mike Matthews appears to be hurt, along with Chris Brazzell. How much trouble is Tennessee now in at wide receiver? Who's going to replace Mike Matthews, assuming he is hurt? We'll get into that. DraftKings Sportsbooks has released lines for 4 Tennessee games this year. That'll be 4 downs. We're going to discuss some of those lines and see how that goes. And finally, we will close with Derek Dooley officially launching his campaign for Senate. He is going to run for the Republican nomination for Senate in Georgia in 2026. He's got some competition on that side, and the winner will take on John Ossoff for that Senate race. We're going to discuss Derek Dooley's chances, interestingly enough. I'll break all that down. So hit that like and subscribe button, ring the bell, turn on your notifications, tell a friend. The show is represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorneys. Play to win. Why settle? Banks & Jones, led by T. Scott Jones, banksandjones.com. We broadcast live from the Ted Russell Ford Lincoln studio. Ted Russell Ford Lincoln is your home for the finest vehicles in Knoxville, new and used, East Tennessee's largest Ford and Lincoln volume dealer. Let's get rolling with today's tough question, and it's on the recruiting trail. Tennessee football has lost a long-time commitment for its 2026 recruiting class. An in-state 4-star Carson Sneed out of Nashville, who has since flipped to the North Carolina Tar Heels, where his brother Dalton Sneed is. Now, Carson Sneed is a 4-star on 247 Sports composite. He's a top 20 tight end, a top 15 player in the state of Tennessee. On 247 Sports regular, he is only a 3-star, so we're talking about a fringe 4-star here. But at the same time, there can be no doubt this is not the type of loss Tennessee wanted. This is the type of tight end Tennessee likes on their team. The 6'6", 248. He would be the Jacob Bourne, massive blocking tight end type, the exact type that they want. So this is not a good loss for Tennessee. It's just not. You can spin it however you want, but this is not somebody Tennessee wanted to lose. It is a sign of Bill Belichick going big and making a lot of plays for Tennessee, for top recruits in the area, which certainly hurts Tennessee. So we dive in. Let's go ahead with today's tough question, and it is this. Is Carson Sneed's flip to UNC a sign that Bill Belichick is to be feared on the recruiting trail now? And that is today's tough question. It is brought to you by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorneys. Play to win. Why settle? Banks & Jones, led by T. Scott Jones, banksandjones.com. I'm setting up the poll question now for this, and I will let you guys pick. Is Carson Sneed's flip to UNC a sign that Bill Belichick is a concern for the Vols? Go ahead and vote on the poll question now. It is yes and it is no. We're going to look at North Carolina's recruiting class real quick. Pulling that up now because with this recruiting class, with this pickup, they aren't looking too bad at this point. So going to Tar Heels football recruiting, I'm pulling up their commitments right now. North Carolina has a top 20 recruiting class for 2026, guys. Belichick hasn't coached a game, and he's got a top 20 recruiting class for 2026, according to the 247 Sports rankings. Now, when you go to the 247 Sports composite rankings, again, number 18 ranked class. They have quite a few 4-stars. He joins Xavion Griffin-Haynes, Trayshawn Ruffin, Carnell Warren, Calvin Thomas, Travis Burgess, Jacob Weatherspoon, and Kean Chapman. And he's got players from Alabama, Ohio, Georgia, Texas, South Carolina, North Carolina, 2 from North Carolina, and Tennessee. So Belichick is using his national connections, and he is recruiting all over. Guys, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to say yes. Yes, this is a concern. And truth be told, one of the reasons it's a concern is just look at it's North Carolina's level of competition. Look at where they play. They play in the ACC. They are fourth among 17 ACC teams right now. Okay, only ahead of them are Miami, Clemson, and Florida State, the usual suspects, by the way. Florida State, though, could be in deep trouble after how disastrous last year's season was. We still think Clemson could be a stale program going down the drain. And Miami's Miami, but I don't believe in Mario Cristobal long term. I bring all this up to say, to be fourth in the ACC, Belichick's first year is a really, really, really dangerous sign for the rest of the the rest of the programs in the area trying to recruit the Carolinas, and that includes Tennessee. Because he's only had, again, for those who don't know, you start working on players the summer before. Belichick didn't have the summer before to work on players, and he's already starting to land guys, and I really do believe that if he has a solid first year, that North Carolina, and when I say solid, I mean just go 6-6, that North Carolina is going to be a massive force on the recruiting trail in a year. It's already starting to show, okay? And let's look at Belichick's schedule real quick. They play TCU to open the season. Now, TCU did go 9-4 last year under Sonny Dykes, but they've been up and down since Sonny Dykes has been there. The year before, they went 5-7 under Sonny Dykes, and as we know, with Colorado, sometimes beating TCU for your first game as a head coach is how you make a name for yourself, because that's what Deion Sanders did. They could easily... Now, I think TCU might be favored in that game, but I wouldn't be surprised if UNC wins. And if they do, then they visit Charlotte and they host Richmond. They're going to win both of those games, and they could be 3-0 going to visit UCF. Another winnable game, by the way. What happens if they're 4-0 when they begin ACC play in October? They host Clemson. Now, again, Clemson's a better team, but you get them at home, and Clemson was up and down last year. I think Clemson wins that game because of Cade Klubnik, but then they have at Cal. At Cal, I think UNC would probably lose that game, but definitely can win it, okay? Virginia at home, I think they'll be favored in that. Stanford at home, I think they'll be favored in that. Guys, I mean, you're seeing a path to 7 to 8 wins with UNC, and if they do that, then Belichick's going to explode on the recruiting trail in this offseason. So this type of flip, I think, is a big concern for Tennessee, and it's because I do think Belichick is starting to make plays. Belichick's from Nashville, for those who don't know. He has connections to the area. Tennessee needs to wall off its state and then pluck players from Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, and yes, North Carolina and South Carolina. That's their path, and it always has been their path to winning titles. If Belichick walls off North Carolina and is able to go into Tennessee and pluck players from there, that's a real big issue, and losing Carson Sneed does hurt. Today's tough question, again, brought to you by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorneys. Play to win. Why settle? Banks & Jones, led by T. Scott Jones, banksandjones.com.
Why Banks & Jones? Well, it's because they're Tennessee's trial attorney. You can play to win with Banks & Jones because they'll go to trial. You've heard of other lawyers. They say they'll go to trial and fight for you. They won't. They just want to settle. That's the easiest way out. Well, that's not Banks & Jones, led by T. Scott Jones. They won't settle. They'll go to trial for you. Tennessee's trial attorney. They play to win. Truly Tennessee's trial attorney when it comes to criminal defense or personal injury. Why settle? It's Banks & Jones. T. Scott Jones. banksandjones.com.
The poll question up: is Carson Sneed's flip to UNC a sign that Bill Belichick is a concern for the Vols? Only 25% of you say yes, 75% of you say no. I got to side with this 75%, guys. I think it is a sign that Bill Belichick is a concern for the Vols. Now, Dylan jumps in and says, Bill's Patriot way of coaching isn't going to keep kids in the program today. You can be a tyrant when you're winning like Kirby Smart, not when you're UNC. Well, Dylan, we don't know. That's true, but Kirby Smart was kind of a tyrant beforehand too. And I get there's NIL in the portal, but a lot of kids are adults, and a lot of kids will play for a coach for the money, the chance to win, and the development. And I think those three things is a really, really, really big deal. And I think it's going to help Tennessee in a big way go to, I think it's going to help North Carolina in a big way. Belichick, I think, knows what he's doing more than he's letting on. I know that's crazy to say. Many people might disagree with me on that, but Belichick knows what he's doing more than he's letting on. And I think that's showing itself quite a bit right now. So with that in mind, I think Bill Belichick has, Sam Schrock says the dude is 73 and people saw what his team said after Brady. Recruits aren't dumb and don't want to play for an old man. I'm going to sell. Everybody says everybody sees what Bill Belichick did after Brady. Belichick made the playoffs 2 years after Brady. Okay. With a really bad quarterback and a quarterback he missed on in Mac Jones. Yes, things went south afterward, but Bill Belichick, it's not like he hasn't had success without Brady, guys. We're talking about a guy that had multiple 9-win seasons with the Browns in the mid-90s. And Brady wasn't Brady when Belichick won his first 3 Super Bowls. That's not, he was a game manager during that time period. So I think we totally forget how good of a coach Bill Belichick is. The NFL is much more talent-driven than college football is. And Bill Belichick, talent sometimes you luck into. And that's kind of what they did with Tom Brady. Yes. At the same time, Belichick was an amazing coach, did a great job with that defense. That defense was loaded. Yes, but Belichick did load it. You can question Belichick, the GM. He's not the best talent evaluator, but heck, neither is Josh Heupel. So I think in general, Belichick has a certain level of credibility. And I think that's going to be enough to help in many ways, help him recruit on a high level. Look, landing Carson Sneed is nothing to sniff at. And I think it's time to start sounding the alarm of Bill Belichick at Cleveland. At North Carolina. How long he lasts, nobody knows. He seems to be much more energetic now than your average 73-year-old. He seems to be 73 going on. Some people are 73 going on 90. Others are 73 going on 50. And he strikes me as 73 going on 50. And with that in mind, yes, I think Bill Belichick could have a lot of success at UNC, and I wouldn't be surprised. He's got that transfer Gio Lopez that's now at North Carolina from South Alabama. I know you guys have brought him up on the message board, so I really wouldn't sleep on this guy. And for the record, Lopez, for those who don't know, last year when he played, he only played last year he completed 66% of his passes, averaged 8 yards an attempt for over 2,500 yards, 18 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, also ran for 465 yards and 7 touchdowns. This is not a guy to sleep on, okay? It's very athletic, dual threat quarterback. How Belichick handles dual threat quarterbacks remains to be seen. But yes, I think losing Carson Sneed is a concern for Tennessee. As far as the 247 Sports composite rankings go, thanks to the loss of Carson Sneed, Tennessee has now 22 commitments in its class, but the Vols are still in the top 10. They are ranked number 10 overall on 247 Sports composite. The problem is that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is 6 in the SEC. So 10th overall, 6th in the SEC. That's what life is like in SEC football. Portions of the program are brought to you by Chattanooga Mortgage. Congratulations, your home search just got easier. Buying a home in Chattanooga has never been easier. Chat with 2tsmortgage.com. Chatwith2tsmortgage.com. It is time for a little bit of hot or cold, brought to you by City Heating and Air, cityheatandair.com. 50 years in East Tennessee. Integrity matters. cityheatandair.com. We get to hot or cold, and it involves Mike Matthews. Really rough news for Tennessee as fall camp went underway. We already knew Chris Brazzell was sidelined for some issues, but Mike Matthews has not fully participated in spring drills either because of the fact that he has been a little banged up too. Adam Sparks reported that, of the Knoxville News Sentinel, reported Mike Matthews was sidelined at Tennessee due to injury. They have 5 healthy scholarship wide receivers right now, only 5. And 4 of them have never played, which is obviously Tennessee did a great job on the recruiting trail with wide receivers this past year. But their scholarship guys are Joaquin Dotson, Amari Jefferson, Travis Smith, Rodarius Jackson are their main scholarship guy, and Braylon Staley. Amari Jefferson is hurt. He's not going to play this year. Braylon Staley is ready to explode, I think, in the slot, but he's in the slot. Mike Matthews is your go-to wide out. So it's going to come down to Travis Smith and Rodarius Jackson if they have to replace guys. Joaquin Dotson was a late enrollee. He won't pick things up. Trey Weary is a guy that can be your complementary receiver on the outside, but not your go-to. So it comes down to Travis Smith and Rodarius Jackson, a true freshman, one of them needing to make a huge splash. It's going to be tough to see how that works. We played hot or cold last week with which receiver is going to step up for Tennessee. Hot or cold is going to be a little different this time around. This hot or cold is going to be which injury concerns you the most. And I'm setting up the poll question now. You guys go ahead and vote once I set it up. But we'll say which injury to Tennessee concerns you the most. And it is Jermod McCoy. We're going to go Mike Matthews. We're going to go Chris Brazel. We're going to go Miles Kitzelman. Yeah, those will be the four. Now, Arian Carter. Here we go. Which injury to Tennessee outside of Jermod McCoy concerns you the most? Because everybody's going to pick Jermod McCoy. We're going to say Arian Carter. Okay, because he was a little banged up too. So Arian Carter, Mike Matthews, Chris Brazel, Miles Kitzelman. Now it's time for Hot or Cold, brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning. We're going to talk about the injuries, and are you hot on the injury being a concern or not? Let's get started with Jermod McCoy, the obvious one. I'm hot on that being a concern. I've been hot on that being a concern from the start. I don't care that Tennessee had a Colton Hood. The fact that he's actually not working out solely at cornerback raises red flags. That means they're definitely moving Ricky Gibson over to be the number one cornerback. I don't know if he's capable of that. Tennessee needs Jermod McCoy back fast. They're not going to have him in September. They at least won't have him at 100% by then. So they're in big trouble with that. Definitely hot on that being a real issue. Moving on. Arian Carter. I would be hot on that because of how valuable Arian Carter is, but I think he just had to clean up a little bit in the summer. I don't think he's actually really hurt. He's been taking part in full practices, full pads, and everything like that. So I'm cold on that being an issue for Tennessee. I think they're going to be okay. And so I think that's totally fine. Miles Kitzelman. All right. I'm cold on that for two reasons. One, I don't believe the injury is as serious as some other ones that we're talking about. I think he'll be 100% by the season and in full rhythm. Also, Ethan Davis, it's time for him to step up. Ethan Davis has elite talent at tight end. Deshaun Brom and Jack Van Dorslier also are on the roster. I think Tennessee has options at tight end. With or without Kitzelman. Kitzelman is just a leader of the group. The leadership is important for them, but the raw talent is there with Ethan Davis. Hot or cold, brought to you by City Heating and Air, 50 years in East Tennessee. Integrity matters. CityHeatandAir.com.
Hi, Mike Davis here with City Heating and Air, reminding you to always dare to compare. Our team provides quality local heating and air service, installation, and maintenance across East Tennessee. We use only the best equipment like American Standard heating and air conditioning for your residential, new construction, or commercial needs. Honesty, dependability, and customer satisfaction have been the cornerstones of our business since 1961. City Heat and Air.
There's your fair.
Moving on with hot or cold, which injuries are you most concerned about? I am going to move on to the wide receivers. Mike Matthews. Okay, this is a gut feeling. I'm cold on that being a concern. I do think the injury is mild. I think it was just a precautionary tale to leave him out of practice during the first week. I think Mike Matthews has things figured out. I think he's going to be an elite superstar go-to receiver this year that is going to ball out for the Vols. I think he's just taking, I think just this was a week off for him. And they're just trying to get him fully to 100%. But yes, I am hot on Mike Matthews. And so with that in mind, I'm cold on Mike Matthews. I don't think the injury is a big deal. I'm hot on Mike Matthews being an absolute superstar for Tennessee this year. However, Chris Brazel. Yeah, I'm really hot on that being a concern, guys. I think Chris Brazel has Ramel Keaton vibes. Very, very, very good number two receiver. He was able to step in last year when he wasn't supposed to be a starter because of Dante Thornton and Brew McCoy and Squirrel White, but Thornton and McCoy neither were 100%. I think Brazel did a very good job stepping in. Was a great possession receiver. I thought this year he could be the great number two possession receiver, win 50-50 balls to complement Mike Matthews on the other side, who would be the guy to dictate coverage. It doesn't look like Brazel is at full go, and it doesn't look like he will be. That's a concern because if he's not full go, Tennessee has to turn to either a walk-on, a slot receiver, or a true freshman to be that number two wideout role. And those wideout spots are very hard for true freshmen to figure out. It's a little bit difficult. It's a little bit tricky. I think Tennessee has a lot of reasons to be concerned about the fact that Chris Brazel is not ready to go. I think personally, you can play process of elimination. Sorry, my eye is itching, guys. We played hot or cold last week, but Joaquin Dotson out. The reason he's out is because he didn't enroll till the fall. It's already a complex scheme to pick up. If you didn't get here in the spring to pick it up, get there in the spring to pick it up, and you're a true freshman, you're definitely not going to have it ready to go by the fall. So he's out. Amari Jefferson, banged up. He's out. Boo Carter will get work on offense, but he's definitely not going to be able to figure out the wideout role as a two-way player. That's not happening. Braylon Staley is a true slot. They don't want to move him over to the wideout role. That leaves you with two true freshmen who were there in the spring, who are elite talent receivers, Travis Smith Jr. and Rodarius Jackson, and then also Trey Weary, a walk-on who is a redshirt junior. I do lean towards Trey Weary. I think Trey Weary would be the guy. Remember, the other number 2 wideout doesn't have to dictate coverage. He's just got to have good hands. And I do believe with Chris Brazzell, who has great hands and can win 50-50 balls, being out, Tennessee loses a big advantage. But Trey Weary is the guy that could probably fill that void. The poll question: which injury to Tennessee outside of Jermon McCoy concerns you the most? 33% say Arian Carter, 38% say Mike Matthews, 29% say Miles Kitselman, 0% say Chris Brazzell. I actually disagree with the 0 because I am seeing Chris Brazzell, funny enough. I think Chris Brazzell is the scariest one because I think Arian Carter, Mike Matthews, and Miles Kitselman all seem to have mild injuries, and they will all be cleaned up by the start of the year. I'm not so sure Brazzell's will, and I think there's a big reason to be concerned. Now, Sam Schrock is pointing out Brazzell had cleanup surgery to prevent further issues and will be full back this week, straight from Austin Price and Brent Hubbs. Well, I actually didn't see that, but if that is the case, then throw out what I said. Throw out what I said completely. Tennessee's in good shape. Then Mike Matthews is the most concerning one. Aaron Carter, Miles Kitselman, totally fine. Mike Matthews would be the most concerning one. Look, Mike Matthews is the one player, and Sam is actually putting in the VolQuest guys say they expect both Matthews and Brazzell back early this week. Okay, which is a good sign. Mike Matthews is the one receiver on this roster that can truly dictate coverage, who has experience in the system. Tennessee cannot lose him. They cannot lose him. That's the number one guy they need on offense to be healthy, I think, outside of offensive linemen. So that's a really, really, really big deal. We'll see how the rest of this plays out. But I'll honestly say that given what we saw the first week, Chris Brazzell's injury would be the most concerning to me. Now, the most obvious one still is Jermon McCoy. Jermon McCoy's injury is the one that leaves everything hanging in the balance for Tennessee. We don't know how it's going to play out, but it is true that Jermon McCoy, that look, him not being 100% is looking like more and more of a problem. So we're going to have to see how that all plays out. I'm not so sure Jermon McCoy is, I mean, it's going to be difficult to even see him get to 100% by October, but we'll see how that goes. Portions of the program are brought to you by Hemp House, the premier hemp dispensary online with a wide variety, great selection, and strict standards. HempHouseChatWith2Ts.com, HempHouseChatWith2Ts.com. Use the promo code HOOKED for 10% off. When we come back, we're going to discuss Nico making some news. Stick with us. 2 minutes off the Hook Sports.
Why Banks & Jones? Well, it's because they're Tennessee's trial attorney. You can play to win with Banks & Jones because they'll go to trial. You've heard of other lawyers. They say they'll go to trial and fight for you. They won't. They just want to settle. That's the easiest way out. Well, that's not Banks & Jones, led by T. Scott Jones. They won't settle. They'll go to trial for you. Tennessee's trial attorney. They play to win. Truly Tennessee's trial attorney when it comes to criminal defense or personal injury. Why settle? It's Banks & Jones. T. Scott Jones. BanksandJones.com.
Hello, ma'am. I'm here to look at that plumbing problem.
Oh boy. Yep. You're gonna need a whole new sink.
If this toilet is no good,
You're gonna need a new one ASAP.
you are not gonna believe this. You're all out of milk. Have you heard about our service plan?
I need to call Scott's.
Scott's Plumbing, your trusted neighborhood plumber since 1977.
Community banking is about location and much more. It's about family. We reside in your community. We are a part of your community. At Commercial Bank, our commitment extends beyond the walls of our branches. It's displayed each day in the opportunities we provide, the money we give back, and the time we commit, all to help improve the lives of the people, families, and businesses that make our communities great. Commercial Bank, life made better.
Hi, Mike Davis here with City Heating and Air, reminding you to always dare to compare. Our team provides quality local heating and air service, installation, and maintenance across East Tennessee. We use only the best equipment like American Standard heating and air conditioning for your residential, new construction, or commercial needs. Honesty, dependability, and customer satisfaction have been the cornerstones of our business since 1961. City Heat and Air.
There's your man.
Are you ready to get strong? At NFC, we offer top-notch weight training and functional fitness, so you can build strength and improve your performance. Join today at nfc1.com or stop by any one of our 7 East Tennessee locations.
Welcome back to Off the Hook Sports. Hit that like and subscribe button, ring the bell, turn your notifications on. We are brought to you by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney. Play to win. Why settle? Banks & Jones, led by T. Scott Jones, banksandjones.com, live from the Ted Russell Ford Lincoln studio. Ted Russell Ford Lincoln is your home for the finest vehicles in Knoxville, new and used, East Tennessee's largest Ford and Lincoln volume dealer. Nico Iamaleava continues to try to save face. What the H? Former Tennessee quarterback Nico Iamaleava, who transferred to the UCLA Bruins at the end of spring practice after a report leaked that he and his father were trying to negotiate for more NIL money after starting the whole year for the Vols last year, has recently did an interview with NBC Sports that was released late last week, and has continued to discuss his exit from Knoxville. Nico Iamaleava says, quote, "I definitely could have handled it a better way," he said of his exit from Knoxville, "but I wouldn't change anything for how it happened." He then addressed Tennessee fans directly. He said, quote, "I do want to address the Tennessee fans and let them know that this decision was nothing financial. It was strictly a family decision, me being back closer to my mom and my whole family. I know there's that narrative out there that people are running with. All I can do is be me and focus on my future." However, earlier in the segment, when asked if NIL money had an impact on his departure, he said, quote, "I don't speak on money matters. I'm just here for ball and school." That was at Big Ten Media Days. Guys, this family's really, really, really bad at lying. Okay, let's discuss everything that has happened since this all broke. We knew back in the winter that Iamaleava's family was negotiating more NIL money. They wanted more supporting cast, particularly on the offensive line, since Tennessee was losing 3 starters up front. 4, excuse me. They were losing 4 starters. Josh Heupel went out and got Sam Pendleton and Wendell Moe, 2 starters on Power 5 teams from last year that were reliable starters, to lock down the interior. He was obviously going to have Mike Matthews be the breakout receiver, and Nico was working with Mike Matthews in the winter. They went through all of spring practice together. NIL negotiations were still happening. On Wednesday, before the final week of spring practice, Nico Iamaleava allegedly told teammates he was going to leave Tennessee, according to reports from ESPN. On Thursday, that got back to Josh Heupel. And that Thursday night, On 3, and Pete Nakos released the report that Iamaleava's family was trying to negotiate more NIL money. Friday, Iamaleava wasn't at practice. Saturday before the spring game, Iamaleava transferred to UCLA. That's how that all played out. And then Tennessee went and got Joey Aguilar from UCLA. They then go silent. The Iamaleava family goes, first of all, Iamaleava's father, Nick Iamaleava, trashes Pete Nakos and says the report's a lie. They then go silent after Iamaleava transfers to UCLA. They don't say anything. They let all those stories get out about him trying to strong arm for more money, constantly negotiating, losing the team, things like that. The report was he was making $2.4 million, and they were asking for $4 million. Then they come out and say, "Oh, it wasn't about the," like a month later, by the way, and say it wasn't about the money. We just wanted him to play in a more pro-style offense that would better suit his needs and prepare him for the NFL. Well, that lie never added up. Maybe they wanted to add more pro-style concepts into the offense, and they were hoping that would happen in spring. But the reason that lie never added up is because Nico Iamaleava knew what offense he committed to when he committed to Tennessee a couple of years ago. More importantly, he's transferring to UCLA with a first-year offensive coordinator in Tino Sinceri, who has never called a play in his life, who, yes, while he will be running more pro concepts, doesn't seem like he would be the guy you'd want to play for. You commit to Josh Heupel, not to develop for the NFL, but to put up video game numbers. And Iamaleava knew that when he committed. Then they go quiet again for a little while. Big Ten Media Days happens. Iamaleava says, I don't talk money matters. I just talk ball. Actually, first he said he changed his story from what his father said. It was no longer about the offense. It was about, I wanted to be closer to family. And he says he transferred to be closer to family, even though his family had a house in Knoxville that was bought for them by his NIL money. Now he sits down with NBC. Oh, well, then at Big Ten Media Days, he says, I don't want to talk about money matters. I just want to talk ball. That's what he said when asked about his NIL situation. Now, in a sit down with NBC, he is insisting it was about being next to his family and not about money matters at all. Well, why didn't you say that at Big Ten Media Days? This is like the third time the Iamaleava family has contradicted themselves on their narrative. Guys, Iamaleava and the family is in over their head. They have no idea what they're doing, okay? So this level of lying is beyond insane. They're so bad at it that it makes you honestly just want to laugh. Because putting all this together, they've tried to deny the whole time it was about money, while every report out there said it was about money. Then they first tried to say it was about the offense that they were running, even though it's the same offense that he committed to. They then try to say it was about being closer to family. Meanwhile, Nico says, I don't deal with money matters. And then a month later, actually just a couple of weeks later, says, it wasn't about money at all. If you don't deal with money matters, how do you know that? See the flaw here? I'm sorry, this is just laughable to think about. Every bit of lying they're doing, it's absolutely ridiculous. And it makes them look worse and worse and worse. What the H, brought to you by Rick Terry Jewelry Designs. They want to be your jeweler looking for affordable game day jewelry, a Tennessee tradition. RickTerryJewelry.com.
Having been in the jewelry industry for a long time in the Knoxville community, I saw a need for a jeweler, a real jeweler.
Our ability to do these designs has really been based on the customers bringing new things in and challenging us as a store. Our goal is not to tell anybody what they want. Our goal is to listen to what they want and then help them get there.
Schedule your consultation today to get your special someone the perfect custom gift just in time for the holidays.
Let's go to the message board with the Nico Iamaleava conversation. Carl Knight says Nico had private jet money. Distance doesn't matter. I agree. Totally agree. That didn't make any sense. And his family lived in Knoxville. They had a house. Adam says people who don't talk money matters are usually making more than their peers. Absolutely true. They're usually making more than their peers. That is the honest truth. It's pretty wild. Adam, I keep hearing about this Pete guy. I thought Nick made it clear that was not Pete's preferred name. I'm not going to give what Nico's father said about Pete Nakos and what he called him. David Speaks says, so if he flames out at UCLA, where will he go after their Long Beach State so he can be closer to home? Nice joke. That's a good one. I don't think he's going to flame out at UCLA, to be fair. I actually think he's going to be pretty good. I just don't think it'll be enough for UCLA to win. What they want to win. General Ursa says, I shut out anything Nico says. I have moved on. Totally understand that sentiment. So look, we don't know how all this is going to play out, but we know that the Iamaleava family is in over their heads. Sam Schrock says, I think Heupel knew Nico couldn't process 3 receivers, much less if we rotated in more guys. Last 2 years, it's been hard to judge if it's receiver play or QB play. Very true. David Speaks adds, they act like Nico has signed a record-breaking NFL deal. They better watch before he ends up undrafted and broke. Very true. He's carrying himself like Shedeur Sanders, and we know what happened with Shedeur Sanders. That did not look good for him. Derek Owen goes private jet, and dragging around a tribe full of people would have got expensive. The thing was, though, the family was in Knoxville. They were living in Knoxville. They had a house in Knoxville. And Bobby Short goes, he wants to be closer to mommy. Come on, man. You're like 20. Got to leave the nest. He must need her to make some more dresses. Oh, my gosh. All right, we're not going to make fun of Nico Iamaleava's outfit. That's a cultural thing, guys. But it is. I do think that wanting to be closer to family just doesn't add up. I mean, I'm sticking with that. I'm sticking with that story. I just don't understand how anybody could think that's legitimate. Wanting to be closer to family, it just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. There are way too many signs that the truth of the matter is he just wanted more money. Portions of the program are brought to you by Hound Dogs of Knoxville. Champions look good in orange. hdknoxville.com. hdknoxville.com. When we come back, Sportsbook is out. DraftKings, they got 4 games that they're predicting for Tennessee. We'll talk about those lines. Stick with us. 2 minutes off the hook sports.
It's a new year, a new day, and Ted Russell Lincoln has an exciting new offer to share. Right now, get a 2024 Lincoln Navigator with 0% APR for 72 months and up to $4,000 in bonus cash. Or drive away in a new 2024 Lincoln Corsair Grand Touring with 0% APR for 60 months and up to $4,500 in bonus cash. It's time to get excited about the ride. Come and see what a luxury car experience truly is at Ted Russell Lincoln Knoxville.
Hello, ma'am. I'm here to look at that plumbing problem. Oh boy. Yep. You're gonna need a whole new sink. If this toilet is no good, you're gonna need a new one ASAP. You are not gonna believe this. You're all out of milk.
Have you heard about our service plan?
I need to call Scott's.
Scott's Plumbing, your trusted neighborhood plumber since 1977.
Having been in the jewelry industry for a long time in the Knoxville community, I saw a need for a jeweler, a real jeweler.
Our ability to do these designs has really been based on the customers bringing new things in and challenging us as a store. Our goal is not to tell anybody what they want. Our goal is to listen to what they want and then help them get there.
Schedule your consultation today to get your special someone the perfect custom gift just in time for the holidays.
Sports Treasures in North Knoxville is one of the South's largest sports cards and memorabilia dealers, featuring over 10 million sports cards from vintage to modern. Sports Treasures carries a full line of hobby boxes, singles, autographed memorabilia, Tennessee Vol collectibles, fan cave decorations, and so much more. See a museum full of collectibles at Sports Treasures, 4819 North Broadway in Fountain City, and Sports Treasures on Facebook. Sports Treasures, where the real sports fan goes to shop.
Welcome back to Off the Hook Sports. Hit that like and subscribe button, ring the bell, turn on your notifications. It is time to have a little bit of fun with sports books, gambling odds, because some of them are out, and we're going to go ahead and pull those out. Let me get to it real quick. DraftKings Sportsbook has released opening lines for the Vols season, marquee SEC games. They have also released lines for other Tennessee games on the year. They have got lines out for 4 Tennessee games, their opener, and their 3 key SEC games. What I consider the 4 games to define their season. And I'm going to give you my thoughts on where they land on all of this. This is 4 Downs, brought to you by Ted Russell Ford Lincoln. Ted Russell Ford Lincoln is your home for the finest vehicles in Knoxville, new and used. Tennessee's largest Ford and Lincoln volume dealer. We broadcast live from the Ted Russell Ford Lincoln studio. Let's get rolling. The lines out for Tennessee's opener and their 3 marquee SEC games. First of all, Cooper Mays asks you to hit like and subscribe since I don't have the board. So please do what Cooper Mays says. And now, Coop here, first down. Tennessee is a 13.5-point favorite in its season opener against Syracuse, with the over-under set at 54.5. That's right. Tennessee is a 13.5-point favorite for its season opener against Syracuse, with the over-under at 54.5. That line tells me this. If both programs are where they should be and doing what was expected and people knew where they landed, I think Tennessee would be close to a 21-point favorite. The Nico thing changed that. And I think the question surrounding Nico and the fact that Syracuse has so many new starters across the board, nobody knows what to expect from either team this year, particularly with Syracuse having new starters, but a great coach who had a great first year. That leaves things wide open. And I believe that Tennessee as a 13.5-point favorite could be a sign, a bit of a concern, but we don't know how that's all going to play out. We're going to see. But Tennessee is a 13.5-point favorite against Syracuse to open the season. I'm setting up the poll question real quick. What early line is the best bet to make on the Vols? Now we're going to go negative 13.5 versus Syracuse. And then the next one is Tennessee, Georgia. Tennessee is a 7.5-point underdog at home against Georgia with the over-under set at 50.5. Well, what I just said about Syracuse actually kind of applies to Georgia. This line suggests that Vegas is not entirely sure how good Georgia is going to be in September with their quarterback issues, which is a good sign for Tennessee. They're more uncertain about Georgia than they are about Tennessee with a new starting quarterback and the injury to Jamal McCoy. Now, they still think Georgia's better. Georgia has more talent. We agree with that. But 7.5 versus Georgia is actually kind of a shockingly low number when you break it all down. And here's the real standout point. And the over-under set at 50.5. They think that's going to be a defensive struggle. That is proof of a complete lack of faith, by the way, in either quarterback on that front, particularly Georgia's quarterback. That's what I think really, really, really stands out. So, look, I honestly think this one is a good sign that Vegas actually is very, very high on Tennessee having a chance against Georgia. But moving on, by the way, that was Cooper Mays here, second down. That was second down from Cooper. Now, Tennessee center Cooper Mays here, third down. You guys tell me how great my voice is. Tennessee is a 12.5-point underdog at Alabama with the over-under not set yet. Vegas is seeing the same thing I've been seeing all season, which is that Alabama's a much tougher game for Tennessee than Georgia this year. Alabama will be much better with Kalen DeBoer, and Tennessee has to visit Alabama, and they will be rolling a lot more than Georgia will be since the game is in October. Vegas sees that. Tennessee is a 12.5-point underdog at Alabama. This is one I think Vegas got right that a lot of fans are going to get wrong. A lot of fans are thinking that game will be closer given what happened last year, given what people think about Alabama. But no, I actually think Vegas is getting this one right. For Alabama to be 12.5-point favorites really, really stands out. And maybe people don't want to hear that. That may be tough to understand, but I think that Vegas they're on to something. They know what they're doing. 4 Downs brought to you by Ted Russell Ford Lincoln. Ted Russell Ford Lincoln is your home for the finest vehicles in Knoxville, new and used, East Tennessee's largest Ford and Lincoln volume dealer. 4th down coming up.
A beacon of hope in a world of high prices. Look to the skies, Knoxville. Super Savings is here. Ted Russell Ford is East Tennessee's #1 volume Ford dealer. Employee pricing is here. You pay what we pay on all new Ford models. Come see the super dealer today at either Ted Russell Ford location, Parkside Drive, or Kingston Pike.
All SEC Center Cooper Mays here. 4th down. 4th down. Tennessee is a 4-point underdog at Florida. I think this is based on history. I do. I think this is based on history because Tennessee has a long history of struggling at Florida. And I think because of that, there's a lack of belief in Tennessee. Even when Florida's bad, Tennessee can't beat Florida at Florida. And they struggle to beat them in Knoxville, too. Now, David Speaks says if Lagway is out by November, that line definitely changes. David, I think that line is set based on not because of Lagway. I think Vegas is seeing what we saw last year, which is that Florida's strong finish to the season had a lot more to do with the other players than it did Lagway. And I think that's a real big concern for for Tennessee going forward. We're going to have to see how that goes. Now, the poll question, what early line is the best bet to make on the Vols? Most of you 50% of you guys said Syracuse, funny enough, 13.5. 25% said plus 7.5 Georgia, 17% said plus 12.5 Alabama, and 8% said plus 4 at Florida. The reason I'm kind of intrigued by you guys saying that is y'all are saying there's a greater likelihood that Tennessee beats Syracuse by more than 13.5 than they lose to Georgia by less than 7.5, lose to Alabama by less than 12.5, or lose to Florida by 4. Meaning, you think there's a greater likelihood that Tennessee covers versus Syracuse than it is that they even beat Alabama, Georgia, or Florida. I'm kind of shocked by our audience thinking that. I got to be honest. I think that you guys are suggesting to me that y'all don't fully believe in everything going on. Now, I agree with you guys, by the way. I think covering 13.5 for Syracuse is their best bet. My second best bet for Tennessee is 7.5 versus Georgia at home. I think they have a better chance of covering versus Georgia than they do covering Alabama or Florida. And I know that's crazy to say, but I think Alabama and Florida on the road will be tougher. We have too much of a history of those games. There's no reason to believe in that. So I think that taking that into account is going to be kind of interesting. So we're going to see how this rolls, but I really do believe that there's a very good chance that Tennessee upsets Georgia. If Tennessee upsets Georgia, provided they don't slip up anywhere else and they cover for Syracuse, they have an inside track to the playoff. Now, again, their best chance to get another upset somewhere would be Florida down the road. You guys talk about the Lagway injury. Also, the team could quit on Billy Napier. We can see how that all rolls. But at the same time, I think it's tough to know for sure how this is all going to play out. I just can't believe. Credit to the audience, credit to you guys. I think you're right. I think there's a better chance Tennessee covers against Syracuse than it is they beat Georgia, Florida, or Alabama. But you guys are also right to have Georgia the second best. I think we are in alignment. 62% say covering versus Syracuse is their best bet. 19% say covering against Georgia as an underdog is their best bet. 12% say Alabama, 6% say Florida. I would disagree. I think there's a better chance Tennessee covers the plus 4 at Florida than that they cover the plus 12.5 at Alabama, just because of how good I think Alabama is going to be this year. But I understand where you guys are all coming from. Portions of the program are brought to you by Peak IV Hydration in South Knoxville and Sevierville. Live your life to the fullest. Hydrate, rejuvenate, and elevate your health with Peak IV Hydration. PeakIVHydration.com. Link is in the chat. When we come back, Derek Dooley is running for Senate. We're going to break that down. Stick with us. 2 minutes off the Hook Sports.
A beacon of hope in a world of high prices. Look to the skies, Knoxville. Super Savings is here. Ted Russell Ford is East Tennessee's #1 Volume 4 dealer. Employee pricing is here. You pay what we pay on all new Ford models. Come see the super dealer today at either Ted Russell Ford location, Parkside Drive, or Kingston Pike.
Sports Treasures in North Knoxville is one of the South's largest sports cards and memorabilia dealers, featuring over 10 million sports cards from vintage to modern. Sports Treasures carries a full line of hobby boxes, singles, autographed memorabilia, Tennessee Vol collectibles, fan cave decorations, and so much more. See a museum full of collectibles at Sports Treasures, 4819 North Broadway in Fountain City, and Sports Treasures on Facebook. Sports Treasures, where the real sports fan goes to shop.
Community banking is about location and much more. It's about family. We reside in your community. We are a part of your community. At Commercial Bank, our commitment extends beyond the walls of our branches. It's displayed each day in the opportunities we provide, the money we give back, and the time we commit, all to help improve the lives of the people, families, and businesses that make our communities great. Commercial Bank, life made better.
Now in its 45th year, the second and third generations continue Joe Newbert's commitment.
His vision of what this business needed to be, we still try to live up to that.
Joe Newbert Collision Center.
Hi, Mike Davis here with City Heating and Air, reminding you to always dare to compare. Our team provides quality local heating and air service, installation, and maintenance across East Tennessee. We use only the best equipment like American Standard heating and air conditioning for your residential, new construction, or commercial needs. Honesty, dependability, and customer satisfaction have been the cornerstones of our business since 1961. City Heat and Air.
There's your fair. Welcome back to Off the Hook Sports. Caleb Calhoun here. Hit that like and subscribe button, ring the bell, turn on your notifications. A former Tennessee football head coach is entering politics. Derek Dooley, who coached the Vols from 2010 to 2012 as head coach, is running for Senate on the Republican side in Georgia, trying to unseat Jon Ossoff, the senator who won in 2020, who was up. Derek Dooley is not the only person running in the Georgia Senate race in 2026. There is also another Republican in there named, I'm sorry, my mind is trying to blink real quick. On the other side, Mike Collins, representative from their Georgia's 10th district, Buddy Carter, representative from Georgia's 1st district, and Reagan Box, a horse trainer. All four are running. Derek Dooley has an inside track. He has the endorsement of Brian Kemp. Brian Kemp is pretty much getting behind Derek Dooley on this from our understanding. I believe now Brian Kemp and Donald Trump reportedly met recently despite their feud in the past, in which they would agree to get behind the same senator. So if Brian Kemp is getting behind Dooley, that would lead you to believe that Donald Trump is going to get behind Derek Dooley too, which would give Derek Dooley the inside track to winning the nomination. I'm going to play, I'm not going to play his ad. Sorry. You guys can play his ad. I don't want to do campaign ads here. And I'm not going to talk about Derek Dooley's politics. He's running on the Republican side. He believes in Republican values. Totally fine. Someone believes in Democratic values. Totally fine. Where I'm getting on this is, what are Derek Dooley's chances? Just as a person. If you watch his ad, you'll realize, and I'm not going to play it, but I watched enough of it to know that Derek Dooley is actually pretty good at this and should have gone into this from the start. He is not as good of a coach as he is a politician. Maybe that's a bad thing. Maybe that's a good thing. But when Derek Dooley, for those who don't remember, when he was hired at Tennessee in 2010, while his production didn't match what he had done, he sold you on being a head coach when he had that press conference. His introductory press conference was one of the best introductory press conferences for a coach of all time when he was introduced at Tennessee. And a lot of people felt that he had hit a home run in that press conference, and a lot of people bought in because of that. Now, they jumped out pretty quickly because people didn't think he should have been hired. But he is, but he did show that he has the political chops. Very smart, very articulate, knows how to be likable. And he does that in this ad. If you watch it, he sells himself on how he's very well connected to people from all walks of life. I do think he's not going to be, I think he's running on specific issues, which he mentions in the campaign, but he's also running on, he is portraying himself as someone who's not going to write off anybody. And I think that's a very good quality to have in politics. It's hard to strike that balance. It's harder than people realize. Here's Derek Dooley's issue, and this is where timing is a problem. Georgia is, for all intents and purposes, now a purple state. It leans red, which is good for Dooley since he's running as a Republican, but it leans red. But it is a purple state. And in purple states, typically, during a midterm election, they swing in the direction opposite the party of the president. That's just the history of midterms. Midterms always go in the direction opposite the party of the president. So Georgia, as a purple state, with Donald Trump being a Republican, it could be hard to run on the Republican ticket in 2026 in a purple state like Georgia. That's just how this works. Midterms typically go against the party of the president that they're in. All right. The last four, I'm doing the math real quick. 2006, 2010, 2018, and 20. The last four times the president had the House of Representatives during a midterm, they lost the House. The last four times. Bush 2006, Biden Obama 2010, Trump 2018, Biden 2022. That actually goes back further if you take out 2002 midterms, because then 92 Clinton had the House and lost it. 94 Clinton had the House and lost it. So 5 of the last 6 times and the last 4 times in a row. I'm saying all that because I'm saying in typical Derek Dooley fashion, he may have gone after a job that he could have done, but he picked the wrong science. He picked the wrong time to do it. I'm not so sure he couldn't have been a good coach at Tennessee, and I still actually defend his job at Tennessee because I think he inherited a mess. But he picked the wrong time to take the job at Tennessee because the attrition made that an impossible job in 2010. He may have picked the wrong time to run for Senate as a Republican in Georgia because a purple state with a Republican president is going to make it harder to win in that state. So, not that Derek Dooley couldn't do a good job as senator, and I don't think he shouldn't run again. I'll say this much. If he loses this time, that doesn't mean he shouldn't run again. Okay? This is going to be it's an uphill battle. It's all the midterms are always an uphill battle for the party of the president. They just are. That's just how things usually go, with a few exceptions. 98 and 2002 are the only real exceptions on that front. So when you take that into account, guys, this is typical Derek Dooley, isn't it? Just not understanding the timing of things, not understanding how things go. I don't know what Derek Dooley was thinking to run this time. Derek Dooley has been, once he got fired, not he, but once Barry Odom got fired by Missouri, which I believe would have been 2019, Derek Dooley should have plotted a Senate run in the 2020s. He should have plotted this run in 2022. He should have plotted to unseat Raphael Warnock in 2022. Had he run in 2022 and not Herschel Walker, Derek Dooley would have won that seat. He'd have beaten Raphael Warnock. Herschel Walker was that was the only reason, because again, that was a Democratic president, and Republicans should have won a statewide seat in Georgia, but they nominated Herschel Walker, who was just a god-awful candidate. Derek Dooley would have beaten Raphael Warnock in 2022. But in typical Dooley fashion, Dooley always is wrong on his timing. If he does win in 2026, I'll give him a ton of credit. He could, but it's going to be more of an uphill battle. He picked a job as an uphill battle. So bank on it. Brought to you by Commercial Bank, member FDIC, life made better. Derek Dooley has an uphill battle to win the Senate race in 2026 just because of the electoral winds of the time.
Commercial Bank is your neighborhood bank. What makes us different from other banks? We understand that every customer has unique opportunities, challenges, and financial concerns. We don't expect you to fit into the same box as the next person or business. Whether it's purchasing a home, saving for your child's future, or planning for your next vacation, we're with you every step of the way to navigate life's big decisions. Commercial Bank. Life made better.
One other issue with Derek Dooley that's kind of intriguing right now, and this happens in different eras of presidents, to be fair, what I'm about to say. During the Obama era, Obama built a coalition of typical non-voters who turned out for him. The reason that hurts you a lot is during midterms and off-year elections, those non-voters don't turn out, and the other party starts to pick up a lot more seats, even more than they do in traditional midterms. Derek Dooley has the same problem with Trump, which is you're seeing this a lot. Now, Trump, his coalition is a lot of typical non-voters who turn out when he's on the ticket, but don't turn out otherwise. And he's not on the ticket in 2026. So there's going to be a lot of those voters that just don't turn out. And that inherently works against the Republicans during that midterm. Again, Derek Dooley should have run in 2022. His timing was just off. It was horrible timing. He is smart on how he's going to run, and I think he's good at communicating. Derek Dooley is one of the best communicators in the nation in anything. And I think if he picked the right time and the right environment, Derek Dooley would be a superb candidate for anything, because Derek Dooley knows how to message, actually. I do believe that. Derek Dooley knows how to message. He knows how to sell himself. He knows how to make you believe in him. He was hired at Tennessee with a 17-20 record at Louisiana Tech, and he was hired because he did so good in the interview process. And then in the press conference, he won everybody over. When you take that into account, he did a heck of a job with his communication skills. And I think that's going to help him. And if there's anybody that probably, he is the type of candidate, by the way, that should be running in Georgia during 2026, given the political winds and the way things are blowing at the moment. He is in this environment, he can be utterly likable. He was utterly unlikable as a head coach because he would make you feel stupid for asking things like you shouldn't ask that, as if he knew so much better when he was going 17-20 or having losing records at Tennessee. And that was just never a good look. Was it 17-20 at Tennessee, by the way, guys? Did I get that wrong? 7-14. No. It was, it was. He was 17-20 at Tennessee. I believe he was, I forget his exact record at Louisiana Tech, but it was a losing record at Louisiana Tech. But the point is, I think Derek Dooley has a chance of winning. I just don't think he picked the best time to run. The show represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney. Play to win. Why settle? Banks & Jones, led by T. Scott Jones, banksandjones.com. We broadcast live from the Ted Russell Ford Lincoln studio. Ted Russell Ford Lincoln is your home for the finest vehicles in Knoxville. New and used is Tennessee's largest Ford and Lincoln volume dealer. Hit that like and subscribe button. Go ring the bell, turn on your notifications, tell a friend. We are building something great here at Off the Hook Sports. Want you to be a part of it. We will be back tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern. Thank you all for tuning in with Caleb Calhoun. This has been a presentation of Off the Hook Sports.